All right. So welcome once again to MKTG 617, Internet Business and Electronic Marketing, right? This is our fifth lecture. And in today's session, we'll be looking at the e-customer. So following from our discussion last week, remember when we talked about the micro and macro environment, and then we discussed the actors in the micro environment. We said we were going to defer the discussion on the customer as an actor in the micro environment to a later date. Please do remember that.
Yes, Doc.
Good. So today is that day. We are going to delve into the customer and their unique characteristics, as well as how internet technology has amplified all these characteristics and how we as e-marketers can properly respond to them to be able to successfully market and sell our products and services to them. So as usual, there are certain learning outcomes we hope to achieve by the end of the session. The first one is to be able to understand the concept of the connected customer, right? We want to know who the connected customer is and what this concept of the connected customer means for us as e-marketers. At the same time, we also want to understand the buying behavior of customers online, right? Particularly look at the buying process and how online technology can facilitate this process, since that is the main aim of the e-marketer, to market and sell products and services to these customers online. And then also be able to explain the shifting customer path in the connected world. Now, when we talk about the customer path, we are basically referring to the path from where the customer identifies that they have a particular need that they want to satisfy to the point where they actually obtain a product or service to satisfy this need. And after they have consumed this product or service that they have purchased to satisfy this need. So we are looking at all that happens on this path, from identifying the need to obtaining a product or service to satisfy this need, and what happens after the consumption of this product or service has taken place. So in a nutshell, that is what we will be covering in this session. As usual, as we go along, if you have a question to ask, please feel free to raise your hand. I'll give you the opportunity and then you can do so. If you have a contribution to make as well, you can do the same thing. In the event that I ask a question or I require some feedback and you can't use your microphone, you could always use your reactions to let me know that you are there and you concur. Okay. All right. So let's get into it, starting with the connected customer. So who is the connected customer? We are discussing the concept of the connected customer because there is a new breed of customer out there, right? And this customer is one that is the majority all across the globe as we are currently speaking. And when we look at the general nomenclature of this particular new breed of customer we are talking about, we can see that they fit a particular description, right? They are mostly young, falling between a certain generational class that we refer to as millennials and Generation Z, right? And they are also mostly urban. Most of them live in urban areas, with a few of them being found in the rural areas, but majority of them live in the urban areas, which enhances their access to various amenities, including infrastructure that enables them to access the internet. They are also middle class, right? So most of them are around the middle class range with strong mobility, meaning that they are middle class in the sense that they have the means to be able to afford to buy certain products and services to satisfy various needs that they might have. And strong mobility in the sense that they are able to move from place to place. They are able to migrate from city to city, from town to town. They are not static, right? Meaning that they can be able to create unique consumption experiences for themselves, regardless of the location that they find themselves. And ultimately, like I mentioned, because they are middle class and are mostly found in the urban areas, they have access to the resources and infrastructure that help them to gain access to the internet and to stay connected. Hence, they have access to the almighty connectivity, right? So in addition to this, when we talk about this new breed of customer, who we are calling the connected customer, we can talk about the fact that they are also increasingly sophisticated. Sophisticated in the sense that they do not have the traditional tastes and consumption patterns that consumers previously had. Because of the nature of their lives, being that they are young, they are urban, they are middle class, they have connectivity, They are exposed to various forms of products and services and experiences, not just from within their own geographical confines, but also from other regions and parts of the world by virtue of connectivity. So their tastes are sophisticated and they require slightly different forms of products and services in different configurations to be able to satisfy the needs that they might have. So we as e-marketers cannot expect to just sell basic products or services to this consumer group because they are connected and they know what is out there and they know the various forms and versions of products and services that they can have access to in order to satisfy their needs. So as e-marketers, we are tasked with creating experiences that can satisfy their sophisticated taste buds. Does that make sense?
Yes,
good. Also, they have this increasing need to be connected, right? And this need is sometimes said to be insatiable. And this is very common with everyday activities that we usually engage in, right? Particularly with members of this class. We can see that the connected customer class always have at least 2 digital technological devices, right? They either have a mobile phone and a digital television. That's the most basic one I can mention, right? Or they have a mobile phone and a laptop and a digital television at home. Am I right?
That's true.
Yeah, and at any point in time, they are connected on at least 2 of these devices. So let me use a typical gentleman in this consumer group as an example, right? So the typical connected male customer has a television at home, a digital television on which they have been watching Premier League matches. And most of the time, while they are watching the Premier League match, their mobile phone or their smartphone is in one hand and they are monitoring the match dialogue or commentary on social media, including Twitter and other internet platforms. And they are using the live match that they are watching to influence the comments that they are also contributing to this dialogue that is taking place online on their phones. And if we are not careful, they may even have a laptop next to them somewhere, trying to catch up on some assignments that they have been given, assuming they are in school like you guys. So at any point in time, they are connected on at least 2 of these devices. Please, does it make sense?
Yes, Doc.
Yes, please.
Yes, Doc.
Yeah, sure.
Good, right? So this is a typical representation of the insatiability that we are talking about when it comes to the need of this group to be connected. We can also talk about the fact that they must be connected everywhere and anywhere, right? So that means that they rely on the ubiquity of the internet to ensure that everywhere they go, they are connected either by their smartphone or by any other mobile device that they have on them that can help them to stay connected with the internet and be able to be abreast of all the changes that are taking place. So you're most likely to hear a connected customer enter a restaurant or a hospital or a building, and the first question they will ask is, do you have Wi-Fi? True or false?
Very
True.
True.
Yeah, that will be the first question they will ask. Do you have Wi-Fi? Right? So that is a true semblance of the need to be connected everywhere and anywhere, right? And these are the key characteristics that help us to be able to pick the connected customer out of any crowd of customers. Now, this connected customer presents a unique opportunity to e-marketers, right? Because connectivity is arguably the most important game changer in the history of marketing. Remember, in the beginning of our lectures, we talked about the unique characteristics of the internet and the various opportunities and capabilities that it gives us as marketers to be able to use all these different tools in creative ways, able to market and sell our products to customers. So with the connected customer having all these opportunities and powers as a result of connectivity, we as marketers also have certain powers and tools granted to us, as well as capabilities that help us to be able to reach this connected customer and meet them at the point of their need, right? So given that the connectivity as a concept has changed the way our customers behave, right? It has also changed the way we see them. and the way we come up with strategies to be able to identify and satisfy the unique, sophisticated needs that they may have, right? And the key reason for this is that connectivity has turned all customers now from passive receivers of our offerings, which previously was the case during the production era, where marketers were just used to designing products and services and just pushing them down the throats of customers, to now active participants in the creation and consumption process, such that they want to be able to be part of the process of designing and creating the products that satisfy their needs, as well as the process of consuming these products and services. And this process of collaboration between us as marketers and customers to be able to come up with a unique customer experience, right? By using the brands and products and services that we have in various configurations through inputs from customers to satisfy their needs, is what we refer to as co-creation. So they require co-creation on our part as e-marketers by having to involve them in the process, right from designing the product or service to actually making it available for them to consume. So we realized that on the path towards identifying a product or service to satisfy their needs, and the path towards their experiences after this consumption has taken place, there are various opportunities for us as e-marketers to get the connected customer involved in the process, right? So at this juncture, we have been talking a lot about the connected customer and how connectivity has changed their world and our world as e-marketers. So we need to ask ourselves at this point, what is connectivity? So connectivity is basically a term that refers to the way people are hooked up to the internet. And it may include dial-up telephone lines, which currently are not so common. And then we can also talk about always-on broadband connections, which are quite common, right? And wireless devices, which are often the primary means of connectivity that a lot of customers have access to. However, in our current dispensation, right, in terms of scholarship, we are moving away from mere connectivity to discussing the concept of meaningful connectivity. And meaningful connectivity is necessary in the sense that it is not just enough to be connected to the internet, right? We need to be able to use the internet every day and be able to use it on an appropriate device and be able to have access to enough data, as well as a fast enough connection to be able to get all the transactions and activities that we want to do using the internet technology done. And when it comes to meaningful connectivity, we realize that there's a lot of ground that we still have to cover. Because in terms of having everyday access to the internet, in our current dispensation, the era of COVID, you will bear with me that we do not always have connection to the internet every day. Sometimes you will have a good connection today. Tomorrow, the connection may be so poor that you cannot be able to use the internet to do much. At times too, in terms of appropriate devices, not everybody has access to all these sophisticated devices that can help them to have meaningful access to the internet. Some people only have a smartphone. Others perhaps have a smartphone, but it is not the level of smartphone that will help them to have the full experience of perhaps a newly designed website that has all the bells and whistles, right? So having the appropriate device is also another issue. Having enough data is also another issue. Some people have the smart devices, but they do not have the means or the resources to purchase enough data to use on these devices. So I have had instances where students in class have sent me a message in the chat and they said, Doc, my data is about to get finished. And once it's done, I don't have any more data, so I cannot be able to reconnect. And this is a problem that is alive with us today, right? And not to talk of the fast connection of the internet. Internet infrastructure in Ghana has become so burdened that even with access to good connectivity, right, in terms of having a router, right, or a broadband device that can help you to access the internet, or perhaps access to internet connectivity from various internet service providers, you still cannot get a fast enough connection. you still cannot get a good enough connection on a consistent basis. You are not guaranteed that. As I'm sitting here, because of all the teaching that I do, I have 2 internet service providers, right? And 2 broadband devices that I use to access the internet. Because at any point in time, one can fail me. So when one fails me, I need to be able to rely on the other. And there are days where both have failed me, right? So that is why I talk about the fact that when it comes to meaningful connectivity, we still have some ground to cover. Because even with a number of these characteristics met, there are still some criteria that are beyond our control as individuals, right? Nonetheless, as e-marketers, we need to be cognizant of this. And therefore, in formulating our e-marketing strategy, be cognizant of the fact that not everyone will be at the same level of connectivity. Therefore, you need to think about all the people who are using the different devices, all the people who do not have enough data, all the people who do not have a fast connection, right? All the people who do not have enough internet every day. And this is one of the main reasons why we are going to discuss very soon the application of both offline and online marketing in our current marketing dispensation. Because we realize the fact that not everybody has access to the internet every day. And therefore, if we decide to solely focus on online marketing activity, we as e-marketers may be selling ourselves short and cutting off a whole market segment that we can serve. Please, I hope that makes sense.
Yes, Doc. Yes,
Good. Yes. So now that we understand the concept of connectivity and what it means to be meaningfully connected, let's look at certain levels of connectivity that we as e-marketers need to be cognizant of, following from this understanding of connectivity and meaningful connectivity, right? Starting from the level of mobile connectivity. And here we are talking about that segment of the customer base that is connected solely through mobile devices, right? And this is the most basic level of connectivity in which the internet serves only as a source of communication or some form of communications infrastructure. So they use it to make and receive phone calls. They use it to perhaps check their balances on their banking apps. They use it to send emails and receive emails, right? Mainly basic communication infrastructure. And that is what happens at the level of mobile connectivity. That is why as an e-marketer, when you are developing your website, you need to be cognizant of the fact that there are people who will solely be accessing it through their mobile phones. And that is why you realize that various organizations will have a general website as well as an application that can be used on mobile phones. And they will also go ahead and optimize their websites to be viewed on various mobile devices, including smartphones of various screen sizes and tablets, mainly because of mobile connectivity. Now, beyond the level of mobile connectivity, we can talk about experiential connectivity. And this is a step above mobile connectivity, such that the internet is used at this level to deliver a superior customer experience in all the touch points between the customer and the brand. So generally, when we talk about customer touch points, we are talking about all the interactions that happen between us as marketers and our customers prior to the sale of a product or service to them, during the sale of the product or service, and then post the sale of this product or service. So these are the 3 main touch points we can discuss in terms of experience when we are discussing experiential connectivity and how we as e-marketers can create superior experiences that deliver value to our customers, right? And there are various activities that we can be able to do based on the capabilities that are afforded to us through the internet to make the customer's experience a unique and superior one. Now, beyond mobile connectivity and experiential connectivity, there's a third level of connectivity that has to do with social connectivity, right? And this is the ultimate level of connectivity, which is all about the strength of the connection in the communities of customers, right? And this has largely fueled a new market model in marketing, which we refer to as the C2C model. So the customer to customer model in marketing is largely fueled by social connectivity, where it's all about the customers and how they are connecting and engaging with each other in the online space. So as an e-marketer, you need to be cognizant of these 3 levels. and make sure that in formulating your e-marketing strategy, all customers operating at these different levels of connectivity are catered for, including those at the mobile connectivity level, those at the experiential connectivity level, as well as those at the social connectivity level. That is why you find an organization has a very sophisticated website that is built to provide optimal experience on any device that is being used, be it a laptop, a desktop, a smartphone, a tablet, or any other device that they can be able to use to access these platforms. At the same time, too, companies are now big on social connectivity. That is why all their websites and platforms are linked to social networks. And they themselves have created a presence for themselves on all of these social networks that we have on the internet, all in a bid to make sure that they are able to satisfy customers at each of these levels of connectivity. Please, I hope that makes sense.
Yes, Doc.
Great. Now, following from what I was saying a moment ago about the fact that because of meaningful connectivity and the fact that it has not been fully achieved, we as e-marketers cannot afford to totally ignore the application of traditional or offline marketing and the role that it plays in supplementing our activities as e-marketers and all the marketing activities that we are doing online. So because of that, we are going to discuss what we refer to as the paradoxes of marketing to the connected customer, which looks at how connectivity has affected the customer and how it has in turn affected our activities as e-marketers, and how we can respond at the primary level to some of these paradoxes that have occurred as a result of enhanced connectivity between us and our customers. So let's start with the first paradox that has to do with online interaction versus offline interaction, right? Now here we are talking about the fact that the impact of connectivity with regard to the online and offline activities that we engage in as a business is not clear-cut, right? Because even though a lot of businesses, right, are largely operating online, we can talk about that they still need to a large extent certain amounts of offline business activity to facilitate the smooth implementation of their online activities. True or false?
Very true.
Good, right? So here we are saying that the fact that we are doing business online does not mean we can completely do away with the offline aspect of marketing. So what are we saying here? We are basically implying that the future of marketing lies in our abilities as e-marketers to seamlessly blend both the online experiences with the offline experiences across the customer paths, such that we will use a combination of online techniques and offline techniques to ensure that our customers are happy along the path towards satisfying whatever needs that they have identified. So essentially, we as e-marketers can use technology to touch both the offline space that we have been operating in and still largely need to facilitate our online activities, and the online context, right? Making it possible for us to creatively have some kind of configuration of online and offline tactics that will help us to be able to create superior experiences that deliver value to our customers. So let's look at practical examples of how some of these things can happen, right? Now, a typical example of this offline-online convergence can be seen in one of Apple's new technologies, which is known as the iBeacon, right? So the iBeacon is a transmitter device that can be installed in any physical location. Now, this is how it works. The iBeacon wirelessly connects to the phone of individual users of applications that belong to these retailers who operate these physical locations. Now, as a customer who has installed the app on your phone, once you walk into the physical location of any of these retailers, the beacons that have been installed in the physical location would immediately transmit and connect with the application that has been launched on your phone. So once they do that, they begin to send you highly targeted offerings whilst you are going about your journey or activities in the store. So assuming you usually like to buy shoes, when you visit the application of this particular retailer while you are outside the store. As soon as you step into the store, the transmitter will latch onto your phone and the app as you have installed it, and then start pushing messages about your favorites or the items that they know you prefer to browse on your phone while you are in the shop. So we can see on this example that the person seems to have a preference or a liking for footwear. So they are pushing messages in the store regarding deals that are happening on footwear to this particular customer through their phone, right? So they're telling the customer that currently there's a 50% discount on this particular pair of shoes in the store, leading to highly targeted transmission of information that is seamlessly being done using a combination of offline and online tactics. Please, do we realize that?
Yes, Doc.
Yes, Doc.
Great. So very quickly, can we talk about the online and offline aspects of this scenario that we just mentioned? Starting with the online aspects. What are the online aspects of this scenario? I just asked the question.
Please, I want to try.
Okay, Pia, go ahead.
Can we say that one of the online pieces is the software being installed on the phone?
Good, yes. So the app that has been installed on the phone is one of the online aspects. Pia, right? Nuruddin, your hand is up.
Yes, Doc.
Go ahead.
Yes. So moving from what Equia just said, the app gives you, that is the online. So it gives you an indication of what is being offered to you. But the offline will be the personnel you are going to interact with to get the product. If it is going to be delivery, the people who are going to do the delivery. So you as a business person must also understand that it is important to create a delivery system that enhances the customer's experience. Or if the customer is going to pick it in the shop, then the customer
is in this scenario
app.
Good, because in this case, the customer is physically in the shop. Yes. Right? So they are being directed to where the item is.
Yeah.
Good, Nuruddin. So you've given us one aspect of the offline, right? But there's another aspect of offline and online that we have not looked at. Bafapia, you can go ahead.
I wanted to say that with the online aspect, is you having the app and being able to access it anywhere, not even close to the shop.
Good, right? But that is still by extension what Equiajan was referring to, right? In terms of having the app. But there's another aspect of the online that you are not mentioning. What makes it possible for the customer to receive these targeted messages while they are in the shop?
Internet.
The iBeacon. No, the iBeacon. Right? Who mentioned the iBeacon?
Lawrence.
Lawrence, good, right? It's the iBeacon. Because if they even have the app and they enter the shop and the iBeacon is not there, it cannot send them those targeted messages about the various offers, right? And again, even though the iBeacon is a form of digital technology, operating using wireless technology, it has to be physically mounted in the shop. Does that make sense?
Yes, Doc.
It has to be physically mounted in the shop. So here we see a seamless blend of the online and offline working together to ensure that the customer receives a superior experience, right? Let's look at another example which we've discussed before in class. The Zozo Suit 2. It also combines offline and online aspects, right? So I've explained how this technology works in class before. So can someone tell us the offline and online aspects of this process, which involves the Zozo suite and how customers use it? Bapa, go ahead.
I would say the offline aspect is when you use the suit, you wear the suit to take your measurements. And the online aspect is when you are connected to the app on your phone.
Good.
Sending
so that is
the
exactly
measurements
it. Exactly, Bafo. Right? So you physically have to put on the suit. And then the app is the electronic or digital online aspect where you need the app to be able to take the measurements and send it into the application to be able to generate your actual size, right? So well done, Bafo Apia.
Thank you.
So now we get an idea, right? I believe now the understanding is clear of the paradox between the offline and online, right? And how we can seamlessly converge them to be able to create unique experiences. Good. Now let's talk about the second paradox, which has to do with the informed customer versus the distracted customer. Now this is a very interesting one because today's customer is powerful mainly because of their ability to access all manner of information at any point in time, right? And this helps them to be able to make more informed purchase decisions, such that whenever they find themselves in any purchase or consumption experience, most of them think of the first thing to do, which is going online to browse for information about whatever item it is that they are buying. So they are most likely to immediately run a Google search to see what this item is, how much it is likely to cost, and whether or not they are being given a good deal, right? Now, this informed decisions that they make is basically done using information they obtain from search engines, like I just mentioned, right? And other times, these information are often obtained from marketing communications, like television and print adverts, right? Public relations, and other forms of adverts and communication that are disseminated using the internet medium. We can also talk about the opinions of family and friends, right? Who are often always consulted when there is a consumption experience that the customer is looking forward to having. They always want to know what to expect in any such experience. So they will usually consult family and friends. And sometimes they will go online and speak to other family and friends who perhaps are not physically accessible, but they are accessible through the online medium. And some will even go ahead and even consult other online users who they may not know personally, just to obtain their views and their experiences in a bid to enhance their knowledge about a particular product or service that they hope to consume, right? And sometimes they can also rely on their own personal knowledge and attitudes because as individuals, customers also always pick up a lot of information as they go about their daily activities regarding various products and services. And this helps them to form certain attitudes about these products and services that they rely on in making decisions when it comes to consuming certain specific products and services, right? Some of which could come from their past consumption experiences. Yes, Nuruddin, product review sites are part of the online platforms that we can add to the sources of information, right? Good. So in that case, what are we saying in terms of the informed versus the distracted customer? We are talking about the fact that although they seek all this information, we cannot ignore the fact that they are sophisticated and have an insatiable need to be connected. So they are always connected on all these multiple devices and at any point in time are being faced with various pieces of information from various sources, all coming at them at the same time, right? And if you are an individual and all this information is coming at you from all these sources on all these different devices at the same time, it hampers your ability to focus. And because the information is so much and it's coming from so many sources, it sometimes makes you confused. And therefore does not help you in terms of making a final decision, right? And what happens, we talk about the fact that it causes a distraction. Hence the paradox of the informed versus the distracted customer. Because where on one hand, they are getting all this information from all these sources, the distraction comes in when this information comes in huge volumes from all these different sources on all these multiple devices in real time at the same time, hitting the customer. So what can we as e-marketers do? We need to be able to win the customer's attention and get them to focus on us as a brand and our products and services. And how do we do this? We need to do this by creating unique conversations in customer communities about our brands, because we know they are searching for information. And this information is coming at them from all manner of sources, all at the same time. So the only way we can get noticed is to create conversations around our brand and always make sure that we put forth the wow factor that will capture the attention of this customer and make them listen to us and drown out the crowds, right? And once we are able to do so, and we are able to earn the trust of these customers, and we are able to build a relationship with them, they will go beyond just being customers who have purchased our products and services, but also to become advocates for our brand, as well as our products and services. So we need to create unique communication that drowns out the noise, which will limit the distractions and enable the customer to focus on us. Please, I hope that makes sense.
Yes, Doc.
Yes, Doc.
Good.
Yes, Doc.
Now, at the tail end there, I mentioned that once we are able to get the customer to focus on us, and we are able to convince them to purchase a product or service from us, and they are able to build a relationship with us based on the unique experience that we are able to give them, which they find to be valuable, they end up becoming not just repeat customers of ours, but also advocates for our brand. And that brings us to our next paradox, which talks about the paradox of negative advocacy versus positive advocacy, right? Now, because of connectivity, customers have freedom and various avenues and opportunities to express their opinions. And because the online medium is so vast, and opportunities and platforms on which they can express these opinions differ so much, there is always an audience to be able to listen to these opinions that these customers have and want to express. So we as e-marketers, to make sure that we put our best foot forward when it comes to serving our customers, must be able to create a perfect environment for customer advocacy to take place. Now here, when we talk about customer advocacy, most people's minds will go straight to the positive advocacy that promotes our brand and makes our brand look good in the eyes of all users, as well as prospective and current customers, right? But we should not just focus on positive advocacy where we have users recommending and endorsing our brand to other users online, including their friends and family. Because when there is so much positive advocacy and there is no balance between this positive advocacy as well as negative advocacy, which to some extent may involve some level of critique, it does not sound genuine. And our brand does not look credible in the eyes of online users. Please, does it make sense?
Not really, Doc. Because
yeah, it does.
From what I'm getting from what you're saying, it means that there always has to be a negative advocacy in everything that goes on in the online community.
Exactly. It has to be there in some form, right?
Okay.
Otherwise, like Isaac is saying, it looks too good to be true.
Okay.
It's like, for instance, when you go into a shop to buy something, right? And all you hear are just positive things. You never hear even a one bat Everything is always positive, always singing their praises, right? Would it be odd?
It depends on the product.
Okay, before I come back to you, let's hear from Bafo and Nuruddin. Their hands have been up for some time. Starting with Bafo. Bafo, your hand is up.
Yes, I was saying the negative advocacy. Do you put it there yourself, or you are supposed
you
to
do
anticipate
not.
it from customers?
You are supposed to anticipate it and create an environment where it can be free to be aired.
Oh, okay.
That is why I'm not on board with the brands and the celebrities who have been blocking a lot of the people who criticize them. Right? Criticism is necessary because it creates conversation. And this conversation that it creates gives an opportunity for those who are for your brand, for those who are on the side of your brand, to also come out and air their views. And this healthy exchange, right, between those who are criticizing and seem to be against and those who are for, helps to bring about a healthy conversation surrounding your brand, which promotes credibility, right? Nuruddin, go ahead.
Yes, the last part of your presentation falls in what I wanted to say.
Yeah, go ahead.
When there is a negative advocacy, when somebody says something, what it means is that the person might not have a clarity on the product or did not understand or has used it wrongly. So it gives the company an opportunity to come to clear the doubt or give an explanation. So there may be some other people who are reading it who have the same doubt, but because of the explanation that has been given, that will help them to clear the doubt.
Exactly.
But if everything is positive, sometimes you'll be tempted to think that it is planned. So everybody's just trying to give them the right to read, But if there is some negative advocacy, the company has opportunity to explain, clear the doubt, and then that will be, as we said, some form of credibility that they are not blocking them, but they are explaining themselves.
Exactly, right? And Isaac Ofosuhini Owusu agrees with you, Nuruddin, right? Okay, so that is spot on. Solace, your hand is up. Please go ahead.
Yes, Doc. Is it something like, let's say if you have for instance, a medication and you put down the side effects of it? Are we talking about something like that?
Okay. They are not in the same ballpark, in the sense that when you are talking about medication, then legality comes in.
Okay.
Right? And then we are talking about science here. So it's either proven by fact or not.
Oh.
Good. But here what we are referring to is general opinions, right? And conversations and sentiments surrounding a brand. Good. And these conversations often stem from either communication that the brand has put out or prior experiences of other people who have used the brand before or had some kind of interaction with the brand.
Okay.
Good.
Okay.
Right?
I think it's clear now, Doc. Thank you.
Good. You're welcome, Solis. So like we have all generally agreed, as e-marketers, we need to create room for these exchanges to happen. The negative advocates and the positive advocates must always come together, have healthy discussions and conversations, and let these conversations air out. So that where the brand has something to say, they can come out and clearly say it, which would lead to various levels of clarity for others. Right? Exactly. Isaac, it helps to increase earned media because your credibility and your ability to allow these conversations to happen helps you to earn the trust of other users online. So they feel free to talk about your brand to anyone and everyone, right? And where these reviews are positive, it goes in your favor. And the resolution of these conversations helps to clarify the confusion in the minds of other users who perhaps have questions that are unanswered, right? And perhaps may require more information. So thank you, Isaac, for adding that, right? Manaf, you're asking if a business sponsor a negative advocacy in, or to know the experience of its customers. And Manaf, your question is unclear. You will have to clarify. So let your hand is back up.
Yes, Doc. Now I wanted to find out the example you just gave. Okay.
Yeah.
What if the company or the product
Solace
decide not to resolve what happened between? Hello.
Yes, go ahead. So let's go
yes,
ahead.
I'm looking at what happened some time ago between Hinaman Cosmetics and I think Ifya Schwarzenegger. I don't know if you heard about that when she complained about their products giving her bad reaction and all that. But I didn't see any publication that Hinaman came out to denounce or debunk or even give an explanation to any of those criticisms.
Yeah.
So what happens in a situation like this? Because I don't think I would think that something like that will make Pinaman's customers or whatever go down. But from check, I think she's even now receiving getting more customers, signing more celebrities that are even more top notch than Ifya Schwarzenegger herself. So what about something like that?
Exactly. Right? Because she did not do anything to stop it, did she?
No, she didn't.
Yeah, she just allowed it to play out.
She didn't.
She just allowed it to play out, right? And because of that, it created a lot of publicity for her brand.
Yeah.
A lot of people who didn't know about Pinaman Cosmetics all of a sudden got to know about Pinaman Cosmetics. And bear in mind, Ifya Schwarzenegger was complaining about one product. But she has more than one product.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So the interactions around the brand, whether positive or negative, put the brand out there. And it became a topic for discussion by everyone. And you know, consumers are inquisitive.
Yeah.
Some consumers are very inquisitive. Like, they want to go and see what the hype is all about. Right? So that is a classic case of how allowing negative and positive advocacy to play out can benefit you as a brand.
Yes. Yeah.
So good observation, Solace. Right? So the concepts you are learning are
is it
around
the
that.
right thing to do?
Yes, that is why we as e-marketers strategize. That is why we go through the e-marketing planning process of looking at a situation analysis, right?
But I also wanted to find out that is it always right? Yes, Doc.
Solace, you've muted yourself. Okay, you're back online. What were you saying? Is it always right to do it?
Yeah, I was asking if it's always the best plan to take as an as an e-marketer.
Good. Remember, we talked about the fact that when you are going to put together a strategy, you need to first look at your situation. Right?
Yeah.
Good. Now, in performing the situation analysis, depending on who her team of e-marketers were or who her team of marketers were, they realized that based on the nature of the situation they were facing, the best thing to do was to keep quiet. That is why we talked about the fact that you can't do a situation analysis once and base all your decisions about strategy on it. You need to always revise your strategy based on what your current situation is. So at that time, I believe looking at their current situation, they realized that there was no way they could win an argument against Ifya Schwarzenegger.
Okay.
Because she has a loud mouth.
Yeah.
And she has several followers. So taking her head on will not help. So let's leave it and let it play out and react accordingly. And I believe that is what they did. They just left it and let it play out. So you realize that other independent people who were in the periphery started taking on the Fia Schwarzenegger for no reason.
Okay.
Right? Good. So it started the whole positive advocacy versus negative advocacy fight. Back and forth, back and forth. Then once the conversation had aired out and they had all gotten to their limits, everything just died down. And like you're saying, it has been to the benefit of the brand. So whatever course of action you take is dependent solely upon your situation and how, based on your analysis and the resources that you have, you should be able to react in order to get the best outcome. So when it comes to e-marketing, I always talk about the fact that, I don't know if you've heard me saying it consistently, that it is about the creative manipulation of these capabilities and tools. Have you heard me saying this in class before? Have you heard me talking about the creative manipulation of the tools and capabilities?
No.
I've even said it in class today a number of times. Who heard me?
Yes, Doc.
Yeah. Right? So you have to be creative in terms of your strategy formulation. And you do this based on the information that you have at hand. Right? So thank you, Solis, for bringing up that example that has made things clearer for us. So, Manav, you said, can a business sponsor a negative advocacy in order to solicit a positive advocacy from other customers? Yeah, that has been the main foundation of the beefs that we have been seeing. Some of these beefs are actually sponsored. Who knows that some of the beefs we have been seeing in social media are sponsored beefs? Hello?
Hi, Doc.
Yeah,
Hello, Doc.
so your hand is up. Yes, Samir, go ahead. Okay, your hand
Doc,
is back down.
You were asking if yes, you were asking if we knew if the beefs were sponsored, and it's true,
Doc.
especially among artists.
Yeah.
Musicians.
Yeah, most of it is sponsored, right? So they see one of them on the down low and they're like, okay, we are giving you this amount, just start a beef, right? And let's see if we can get trending and get our followers to show us some solidarity, right? Ekuyajan, you did not know. Oh, yes. Sorry. Isaac Ofoso in the book of Banku versus Aite Powers. Yeah, that was a classic one. Shatawale and Stoneboy, yeah, were they able to prove it? I, at some point, thought that it was actually genuine beef. Especially when the VGMAs happened and there was a gun pulled and everything. That was when I realized that, okay, this is not something that they are actually making up, by something that is really happening. They seriously have beef. They don't like each other. So let's manifest and Sako there. Really? That one too was staged. Okay. Wow. Well, so I guess your question is answered, right? Manaf, sometimes businesses can sponsor some form of negative advocacy to be able to push their positive agenda, right? Good, Isaac. All right. So now that we have understood the paradoxes, right? Let's see if we can dissect the online buying process and the various tools that internet technology gives us that can help facilitate this process, right? So let's talk about the fundamental buying process that we know from the offline context, right? So when we talk about the buying process, we say it is the series of steps that a customer takes to make a purchase decision. And this is often indicated in the form of a flow chart, right? Or a cycle or some form of sequence. That starts from problem recognition, right? Where the customer recognizes that they have a problem or a need that they have to satisfy. And then they go in search of information to be able to see whatever products or services are available for them to be able to use in satisfying these needs. Then after the information search, the alternatives that they come up with that can help them to satisfy their need, they begin to evaluate. So they evaluate them using a number of criteria, right? And by the end of the evaluation stage, they are able to come out with a set of options, which becomes the final set that they will be considering to make a purchase out of. And ultimately, they'll make the decision to buy one of these items to satisfy whatever problem or need they identified in the beginning. And after they have consumed this product or service, they go ahead to perform certain activities as well, which may include repurchasing the product, right? Leaving behind a review of the product, or even recommending the product to other customers to purchase to satisfy similar needs like what they had. Now, we are discussing the buying process here because internet technology can be used to enhance each of these stages of the buying process as we have discussed them. And we are going to look at how this will play out in the subsequent slides, starting from the problem recognition stage, right? And at this stage, the internet can play a specific role, and that is by making customers aware of potential problems within the content of any web presence, right, that we as the e-marketer provide. So sometimes customers do not even know that they have a need for a particular product or service or item. But based on how we plan our communication online, we can be able to elicit the need for certain products and services within prospective and current customers of ours. And we can often do this using our website, right? Since it's an owned media and we control it. The same for our social media platforms, which again is an owned media that we control. Or we can also use emails, which we also control. So when it comes to your website, the design of your website, how you post content and information about merchandise on your website can push a customer to identify a particular need that they did not even know they had. Social media currently is another huge platform that organizations and businesses, right, through e-marketing have been using to elicit the recognition of certain needs among prospective customers and online users. How many times have you been in your Instagram feed and you have seen a particular item that you did not know that you needed, right? You were not even planning to buy this item. Then all of a sudden, you see a particular seller online advertising it and you're like, I need this item in my life. Has that happened to you before?
Yeah, several times.
Exactly.
Yes, sir.
You are casually browsing online and then you see something like, hey, I need this thing. It will help me do this. I need this thing. It will help me do this. That is the power of the internet and how we as e-marketers can use it to push communication that will trigger certain needs in our customers, right? And definitely because you triggered it, the moment they want to go ahead and obtain that item, it is your brand that comes to mind first. Isaac, like how you see new versions of Ben's cars, eh? Me, when I see them, it turns into player. It turns into my prayer topic because when you see how nice it is and you want it, eh, the money doesn't magically appear in your bank account for you to go and buy. So it turns into a prayer topic for some of us. Amen, Nuruddin, it shall come to pass. Right? At the same time, too, we can use emails, right? We receive these communications all the time through the push notifications in our emails and then the email newsletters that we get, informing us about new products and services that are being offered by the retailers we have bought from in the past or whom have obtained our email addresses to try and push focused emails to us, right? So these are the means by which online technology can be used to facilitate problem recognition among customers. Now, the next stage of the buying process, right, which is information search, again, can be facilitated by internet technology. First of all, by the use of platforms such as search engines, which are usually the first point of call when customers are looking for specific products to satisfy a need. So in the event that we did not trigger the need recognition, we can be able to make sure that we are visible on all these platforms that we know the customer is likely going to go in search of information. including optimizing our websites so that they can be found by search engines, right? Including making sure that our online presence is always up to date, so that in the event that the customer goes in search of information, right, they will be able to find us. And there are various intermediaries that we can also become affiliated to make sure that when the customer goes for an information search, we will be enhancing our chances of being found during this search for information. So you realize that a lot of organizations online have their own websites, but they also take up referral links and affiliate links on other people's websites. And they also sign up with all these intermediaries like price comparison sites and product review sites to make sure that all these important locations that customers go for information, right, including social media, we as e-marketers will have our brand located or positioned on all these various platforms, such that it increases our chances of being included when the customer is seeking for information on how to go about satisfying that need that they have recognized. Please, does it make sense?
Yes, Doc.
Good.
Yes, Doc.
Now, the next level of after the information search is the evaluation of alternatives, right? And here we are looking at how the customer goes about determining which alternative item, being the product or service that they found during their information search, is the best one to obtain to satisfy that need that they have identified, right? And here, having determined this product or service that provides a solution to this need, they use the web sometimes to compare the features of these offerings, to compare the experiences that people have had with these offerings, to be able to determine whether these offerings, right, are good enough to satisfy the need that they have identified, and which one will be the best out of the lot for them to choose to go ahead and use to satisfy the need that they have identified. So like Nuruddin mentioned about the price comparison sites, that is a typical example of an online platform that can be used to evaluate alternatives. Please, do we remember the experience we had with the price comparison site?
Yes, please, we do.
Good.
Yes.
We also saw the experience with the product review site, where the different products were put side by side and their features were compared and their prices were compared, right? These are all ways by which the internet can facilitate the evaluation of alternatives among customers. So we as e-marketers need to make sure that we have affiliations with all these intermediaries and online platforms that customers are likely to use to be able to evaluate alternatives, so that our brand will always be in the mix when they are considering the set of final options from which to choose a particular product or service to satisfy the need that they have identified, right? Next, after the evaluation of alternatives, we can talk about the purchase decision. And here the internet can facilitate the purchase decision by helping the customer again using these platforms that we have talked about, including the price comparison sites, right? As well as the product review sites. Because all the information that is provided there helps the customer to eliminate the options that are not suitable and to become more convinced about the options that will best fit the need that they have that requires satisfaction, right? And this includes analyzing all aspects of the products and services that are on offer that can likely satisfy this need that they have, including the features of the product, right? The pricing of the product, right? As well as the distribution aspects of the product, how easily they can gain access to the product, because some products may be at an affordable price, they may have all the features, but in terms of distribution, there is no way that you can get access to that product in your current location to satisfy your need, right? Like currently, a lot of US shops and UK shops do not deliver to Ghana. So even though you go online to their website, right, and you identify an item that you want and the price is very good, there may not be delivery options to where your location is. So if you do not know someone in that location who it can be delivered to and who will ultimately send to you, you have no way of obtaining that item to satisfy the need that you have. Please, does that make sense?
Yes, please. Yes,
good.
Yeah.
Also, some people's purchase decision is based on payment options. So the website may have the perfect item to satisfy your need. They have the best price. They can deliver it to you. But when you look at the payment options that they are asking for, perhaps they are asking for debit and credit card. And maybe you do not have a debit or credit card to make this payment. What you have is a mobile money account. So if the website does not facilitate mobile money transactions, you cannot obtain that item. True or false?
True.
Good. That is why as an email, you need to offer a wide range of payment options so that it will help push the customer closer towards making the final purchase decision and actually taking the plunge and making the purchase, right? And then at the final stage of the buying cycle, we can talk about post-purchase behavior. And here, internet technology affords us so many opportunities to enable our customers exhibit all manner of post-purchase behavior, which can come in the form of positive and negative advocacy, right? To be able to help us push our brand and the products and services that we offer. So for instance, post-purchase behavior can be in the form of previously visited sites that can help reassure the buyer, right, that they have made the right purchase decision. So you can allow these review sites to list your products and to allow independent reviewers to review your products, right? Sometimes you can decide to sponsor a review, independently giving out products to people for them to use so that they can independently put out reviews about your product to reassure the customers who are buying your product that they are making the right decision. You can also create avenues for these customers who have bought your product to meet other customers who have previously bought your product by creating communities on social media and through your website where prospective and current customers of your product can meet, so that those who have consumed it before can be able to reassure those who are yet to purchase the product or service and consume that it is the best choice to make. And to also reassure those who have purchased it already that they did not make the wrong decision, right? So these forums and communities that you can host on your website or facilitate through opening a social media page all contribute towards post-purchase behavior that the customer is likely to engage in. Most importantly, in the area of word of mouth and the sharing of experiences and the creation of community, all of which enhance the prospects of repeat business, right? Which is going to earn the firm more value in terms of revenue, as well as creating value for your current and prospective customers by means of the experiences and exchanges that are going to take place. So in a nutshell, that is how internet technology can help to enhance our activities and strategy as e-marketers at the various stages of the buying cycle. Please, I hope that makes sense.
Yes, Doc.
Good. So now that we have done that, let's look at the shifting customer path in a connected world. We've understood who the connected customer is, the paradoxes of marketing to customers online, and we have also understood the buying process and how we can use internet technology to facilitate this process. So now let's look at the customer path, which we have said looks at the path straight from when the customer identifies a need that has to be satisfied to after they have consumed a product or service that they have identified, which they have procured in order to satisfy this need that they have recognized, right? So in discussing this, we need to look first of all at the traditional customer path, which is the customer path that existed prior to the era of connectivity, right? So in the era prior to connectivity, when we were discussing the traditional customer path, we as marketers used a framework which was referred to as the IDA model. Who has heard about the IDA model before? Have you heard about the IDA model before? Anyone heard about the IDA model? Wow, it's a common model in marketing.
Yes, I have.
Good. That we use to dissect the customer path, right? Describing the process that they go through from identifying a need to after they have identified the product or service and procured it to satisfy this need. So either it's an acronym that stands for attention, interest, desire, and action, right? Now, attention here refers to all the activities and the communication that we put out to be able to get the attention of the customer. And this is geared towards creating awareness of the products and services that we offer, right? Such that the customer will be able to add us in their evoked set when they are looking for products and services to satisfy a need that they have identified. Now, once we are able to gain the attention of the customer, we want them to be able to gain an interest in us, such that when they are sifting down the myriad alternatives that they have obtained, we will end up in the final set that they will consider. Now, once the customer ends up with this final set, they need to have the desire to go ahead and purchase one of these to satisfy that need that they have identified, right? And we want the desire among the competing alternatives to be stronger for our specific brand of product and service. And once we succeed in making the desire for the products and services that we offer to be high, they will end up taking the ultimate action and going ahead to actually purchase our products and service to satisfy their need. Now, as time goes on, this model was refined, right, and extended to become what we now refer to as the 4 A's, being awareness, right? So the first A standing for aware, the second one standing for attitude, the third one standing for act, and the fourth one standing for act again. Because over time, marketers identified certain loopholes and certain aspects of the customer path that were not covered in the original IDA model. So the IDA model was extended and modified to the 4 A's to be able to close these gaps along the customer path that were not previously being considered. So in this most recent framework of the 4 A's, interest and desire, which are the 2 final stages in the IDA model, were simplified into what we refer to as attitude. And then a new stage was added, right? Which is referred to as act again. So in the IDA model, we have ID in the middle, which was interest and desire. Those 2 were taken out and replaced with attitude, leaving attention, attitude, and action. And then a new A was included, which is act again. So why were these changes made? Right? We are talking about the fact that given the customer path, to be able to cover every aspect of the customer path, we as marketers need to be able to understand that customers learn about our brand or any other brand through the process of creating awareness. And once this awareness has been created, based on how the awareness was created, be it through our own communication, using either paid or owned media, or through earned media, where customers are sharing their experiences, influencers are voluntarily reviewing, customers will form some kind of attitude towards the brand. And based on the attitude that they form, be it positive or negative, they can decide whether to go ahead and purchase this product or not, which is the act element in the 4 A's. And then the final A, which refers to act again, talks about the fact that the journey does not end once the customer purchases and consumes the product or service. It continues on to what they do after they have purchased and consumed this product or service, trickling into whether or not they decide to purchase it again, or they decide to engage in word of mouth to recommend it to others and share their experiences about the consumption that they just had with others, which will most likely influence their decision to also go ahead and purchase the product or service. And that is why the modification to the traditional IDA model was necessary, so that we can cover every stop on the customer path from when they identify the need to when they are looking for information on how to satisfy the need, to when they have obtained a set of possible products and services to satisfy the need, to when they actually buy this particular product or service that they choose in the end to satisfy the need, all the way through to what they do after they have gone through the process of consumption. So this modified framework aims at closing the gaps by, first of all, tracking post-purchase customer behavior, which we agree was not captured in the original IDA model. True or false? Was post-purchase customer behavior captured in the original IDA model?
No.
Where did the original IDA model end?
Action, which is the purchase.
Good.
First purchase.
Good. Right? So it was necessary for the model to be extended to capture what happens afterwards. Likewise, the framework was modified to also capture the process of what? Customer retention, which also takes place what? After the purchase of the product. True or false?
True.
Now, was that captured in the original IDA model?
No.
No.
Good. So this modification was necessary so that, again, we can look into the issue of customer retention and be able to measure it, since that is what helps us to be able to determine the lifetime value of our customers and what we stand to gain from them into the foreseeable future. And then also, hey, Solace.
Hey, Doc, sorry. so.
Right?
Oh, sorry, Doc. I didn't.
Don't worry, Solace. It's okay. Yeah. Right? And then finally, it was also modified to help consider the actions of repurchase as a strong proxy for customer loyalty. Right? Because customer loyalty is most of all exhibited through repurchase. Right? That is the prime measure of loyalty. Even though we have other aspects of loyalty like attitudinal loyalty, which are exhibited more in the attitudes of the customer towards the brand, like the way they advocate for the brand and the way they engage in word of mouth towards the brand. However, repurchase, being the behavioral aspect of loyalty, is one of the prime and go-to measures of customer loyalty, which again, the original IDA model did not cover, and therefore was necessary to be incorporated in this modified version of the IDA model, being the 4 A's, right? So when the 4 A's are treated as a customer funnel, we realize that as we get closer, right, to the end of the process, and we are going through the stages, the customers begin to decline as we move from stage to stage towards the end. So the number of customers you have at the awareness level, right, are fewer than the number of customers you have at the attitude level. Likewise, the attitude level customers are fewer than the ones you have at the act level. And the numbers you have at the act level are also fewer than the numbers you have at the act again level. Please, does it make sense?
Yes.
Good. So your product may be exposed to a number of customers. Good. So I'm going over. So what I'm saying is that as you go along the stages, getting towards the end, which is the last A, that has to do with act again, you will see that the number of customers that move along the stages will begin to dwindle. So the number of customers, for instance, that will be exposed to your product or service are more than the number of customers who will actually go ahead to form some kind of attitude towards your product or service. Do you agree?
Yes.
And the people who will go ahead to actually buy the product are fewer than those who have an attitude about your product or service. Do you agree?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Good. And then those who will buy are actually more than those who will actually come back and buy again. Some people will just buy from you once and they will not return. Do you agree?
Yes, true.
Yes.
Good. So that is why we are saying that if we treat the 4 A's framework as a customer funnel, the closer we get to the end, the less customers we have, right? Likewise, if we can reverse it and treat it as a brand funnel, the number of brands that are being considered by the customer as they move along the process continues to decline or dwindle as they get closer to the end. So you realize that in the beginning, at the awareness stage, there are so many brands that are being considered. True or false?
True.
But you realize that it is only a few of these brands that the customer will actually go ahead and care about enough to have an attitude towards. And you realize that the ones they form an attitude about, it is only about 1 or 2 of these brands that they actually purchase. True or false?
True.
Good. And after they actually go ahead and purchase, there are even fewer of these brands that go ahead and purchase and repurchase again. True or false?
True.
Good. That is why we are saying that if we treat the 4 A's framework as a brand funnel, as the customer moves along the stages, the number of brands begins to decline or dwindle. Please, does it make sense?
Yes, Doc.
Good. Right? Okay, so Isaac has mathematicized it for us. Right? So prospects are more than customers, right? Who are more than repeat customers. Good. And then competing brands are more than the utilized brands, right? Which are more than the favorite brands. Good. Right? So that in a nutshell basically captures what we just explained with regard to treating the 4 A's framework as a customer funnel and as a brand funnel. Right? So where does technology come in over here? We are talking about the fact that in this era of connectivity, a new customer path has been defined, right? Based on this 4A framework. And this is because just like the IDA model was modified to reflect changes in the customer path to obtain what we now have as the 4A's, in the era of connectivity, the 4A's have also had to be modified to be able to accommodate the changes that have taken place along the customer path as a result of the introduction of internet technology. And that is why we are going to discuss the shifting path of the customer in this era of connectivity. Papa, your hand is up. Please go ahead.
Hello, Doc.
Yes.
Please, so with this model, what you have just told us, that means by the time you get your loyal customers, the number would have reduced.
Yes.
So
that is why we as... Yeah, go ahead.
So I wanted to find out if there was any new strategy that reverses this model. So by the time you get to loyal customers, there will be more instead of less.
There are tactics and strategies that you can use to increase the number of customers that you will have by the time you get to the end. But based on natural law, right, and marketing theory, there is no way you can be able to keep all the customers that you start with from the beginning all the way to the end. Right? Good. Isaac has just given us one of the theories, which is the leaky buckets theory. Definitely, as you go along, some will be dropping off. Right? So as an e-marketer, you can work hard to deliver a lot of value to ensure that you are able to keep a core number of customers who will continue to do business with you into the long term and remain loyal to you. But definitely you will not be able to keep them all. Right? You will lose some as time goes on. All right, Pafo. You're welcome. So given that we have identified the nature of the era of connectivity and its new context and the changes that it has presented with regard to the customer path, the 4A model that we were traditionally applying has had to be modified to accommodate these changes that have been shaped by connectivity. Right? Oh, don't worry, Simeon. The recording will be made available, okay? Sorry about that. All right. So the new customer path that we are talking about, that has been redesigned based on the traditional 4A's that we talked about to accommodate the changes that have been shaped by connectivity, is what we are going to discuss as follows. Starting from the first point of call on the new customer path, which is the aware phase, right? So here at the aware phase, customers are passively exposed to a list of brands, either from past experience, right, or through marketing communications that we as e-marketers put out there on the internet using various forms of paid, owned, and earned media, which we are creatively combining to be able to communicate our offering and the value that we are giving them to customers. These awareness can also be created through word of mouth, right? So based on word of mouth recommendations from family and friends, from other online users that the customer is likely to meet in communities and forums, they are able to also come up with a list of brands from which they will pick an option to satisfy whatever need they have identified, right? And in addition to word of mouth, we can also talk about the brand advocates who are always online talking about the positive experiences they have had with specific brands and encouraging other users to go try out these brands, right? And this aware phase is the gateway to the entire customer path, because that is where the list of brands that a customer is going to sift through is generated. And it is the starting point at which we as e-marketers always want to be included. Because if you are not included at the aware phase, it is less likely that you are going to end up being the brand of choice at the end. Please, I hope that makes sense.
Yes, Doc.
Good.
Yes, Doc.
Good. Right? So we see how internet technology can facilitate this aware phase through the various forms of paid, owned, and earned media that we are utilizing online, as well as the word of mouth and advocacy that is taking place in the online communities through the social networks, right? And the blogs that we have created, that all serve as avenues for customers and other online users to meet and interact with each other. Now, beyond the gateway path, or the gateway to the path, sorry, which is their phase, we move on to the phase which is known as the appeal phase, right? And at the appeal phase, the customer is now currently aware of several brands based on the information they were able to gather from the aware phase, right? So they begin to process all the messages that they have been exposed to at the aware phase from the different sources, through marketing communication, through word of mouth, through advocacy. And they process these by creating short-term memory, right? As well as amplifying their long-term memory. Because sometimes it takes a recommendation from a particular user online to trigger a memory that you have, which you have repressed in your long-term memory, right? How many times have you faced a particular need where someone has made a recommendation to you and then you have all of a sudden remember that, yes, you are right, this item you are recommending to me, I remember perhaps my grandmother used to use when I was a child and it worked for her. Or my mother used to use it on us when we were children. Has something like that happened to you before? Good, right? So at the appeal phase, we are using all these information to not only create short-term memory, but also amplify our long-term memory, which will together help us to be able to create a short list of brands from the long list of brands that we obtained in the beginning at the aware phase, right? So this short list we have is a refined version of the long list that we had that meets certain criteria based on the short-term memory we have created, as well as our long-term memories that have been amplified, right? So now that we have the short list of brands from which we are going to make our choice, we move on to the next phase, which is the asking phase. And again, this phase is facilitated strongly by internet technology by giving us the means to be able to consult others and find out all manner of information that will help us to probe further into this short list of brands that we have created, right? So we will go on an active information search using all manner of online media available to us, from price comparison sites to review sites to online brand communities, social media, right? asking friends and family, either using email, right, or doing live chats, right, or using various forms of communication media online that have been put out there for brands based on information provided by these brands themselves, right? So all of these are facilitated by the internet to help the customer at the ask phase to get all the questions they will probably have about this short list of brands that they have come up with answered, to lead them into the next phase of the new customer path, which is the action phase. Because once they have been able to get all this information, they will be able to make a convincing choice out of the list that they have and decide to act on one of these brand options in the short list that they have created, right? Now, the list of actions that they can take are not limited to actually going ahead to make a purchase, right? After the purchase, the customer can also go ahead and interact more deeply through consumption and usage, right? By engaging other online users who have also experienced purchasing and using this product or item, right? And sharing experiences on how to be able to get the best value out of consuming and using these products and items. We can also talk about post-purchase services that are facilitated through the internet, like live chats, frequently asked questions, callback facilities, all of which are designed to provide post-purchase services, such as providing guidance to the customer when they are facing any challenges. And some of these can either be facilitated by the firm themselves online or by independent online users through social networking and other forums and brand communities that are set up online to provide this kind of assistance at the action phase, right? Now, beyond the action phase, we are talking about the advocacy phase, which is largely a result of the unique capabilities of the online medium. Being that over time, once customers develop a relationship with specific brands, they develop a strong sense of loyalty for these brands, right? And therefore, they begin to repurchase these brands and advocate for others to also come on board in terms of purchasing and consuming these brands. Now, these are the preferred kinds of customers that we would like to have online. Customers who will be active advocates for the brand and spontaneously recommend it without being asked or told to do so, right? Remember, we talked about the loyalty continuum, and we talked about the terrorist customer versus the apostle customer. Do you remember?
Yes, please.
Good. And we're talking about the fact that we would rather have a more satisfied customer who becomes an apostle or an evangelist for our brand and will talk repeatedly about it and advocate for the brand, rather than a terrorist who is unhappy and will actively go online spewing negativity about the brand and encouraging others to follow suit and boycott the brand. Even though we as e-marketers appreciate the beauty of having a healthy dialogue between negative advocates and positive advocates, right? Yes, Solace, relationship building should be a major goal, because that is the only way you can able to earn the trust of these online users. And once they become your customers, they can help you to be able to attract other prospective customers to actually come and join the family. So relationship building is very important, because that is the only way they can feel the value of the co-creation that we talked about in the beginning, where they feel a part of the brand and they feel actively involved in what we are doing as a brand in terms of providing products and services to satisfy their needs. So relationship building here is a strong goal after the purchase has taken place. That is the only way we will keep them coming back and keep them spreading the good word about our brand, right? So that being said, what are the changes that have taken place with regard to the traditional 4As and the new customer path as a result of the changes that have been introduced based on connectivity? We are saying that now it's all about the 5 A's. Being, first of all, creating awareness and using internet technology to enhance this awareness phase, right? By helping the customer to learn about our brand, not just from ourselves, but also from others on the online medium. Using these various technologies that we have talked about, including social networks, our own websites, blogs, and a combination of paid, owned, and earned media, right? And then the next stage, which is the appeal stage, where we want to be able to appeal to customers by helping them to create both short-term memory and amplify their long-term memory and develop a short list of brands which we need to be able to ensure as e-marketers that our brand is almost always included in, right? By making sure that we sizzle in the eyes of the customer and they will always be attracted to our brand. And moving on to the next stage, which is the ask stage, we need to make sure that whenever the customer goes in search of information to compare among this list of brands that they have come up with, we have enough information about ourselves out there using various intermediaries, as well as our paid, owned, and earned media to help the customer be able to obtain the information they need to make adequate comparison and review the options that they have to be able to come up with a good alternative out of the list, which we hope will be our brand of product or service. And then the next stage, which we ultimately want the customer to engage in or embark on, is the act stage, where we want them to actually go ahead and spend their money on our brand. We either want them to go ahead and buy from us online or buy in store, right? And there are various ways we can do this, using various intermediaries through different techniques like affiliate marketing, using referral links, using listings on intermediaries like price comparison sites, right? As well as active social media pages where we post a lot of content and direct links explaining how the customer can be able to obtain our product and service, and also making it easy for them to pay for these items and receive them, right? Then we also need to look at the next stage after act, which is the advocate phase, where we are making sure that the relationship does not end when the customer buys the product, but we go ahead and engage in active relationship building activities to ensure that the customer keeps using the brand, and not just keep using it, but also keep coming back to refill and repurchase, and then going ahead to recommend the brand to others, and also advocating actively for the brand to other online users, right? So in these 5 phases, we are expecting the customer to know about our brand, to like our brand, to become convinced at our brand, about our brand, to actually go ahead and buy our brand, and not stop at buying it, but also move a step further and recommend our brand to others, even as they advocate for it, right? And all this has been succinctly captured in the model that we see in front of us, using the various customer behaviors exhibited at each of these phases and the possible customer touch points that we can use to be able to amplify customer behavior at these phases in favor of our brand using online technology, and the key customer impressions that we hope to achieve at each of these phases. So knowing what we know now, what are the shifts that have occurred on the customer path prior to the connectivity era and now in the connectivity era? Prior to the connectivity era, there were only 4 phases, being the aware phase, the attitude phase, the act phase, and the act again phase. But now we have expanded these 4 phases to 5 phases, where we are starting from the aware phase, moving on to the appeal phase, to the act phase, to the ask phase, to the act phase, and then ultimately to the advocate phase. And there are 3 main shifts that have occurred along this path. The first one is in terms of the fact that in the pre-connectivity era, customers were able to determine their own attitude towards the brand in terms of independently determining how they feel about the brand, whether they like it or not. But now, because of the power of internet technology and the various activities that take place at the appeal and ask phase, customers' attitude towards brands are now influenced by the community surrounding the customer, right? Including the various social networks that they belong to, the brand communities that they have added themselves to, the forums that they have been chatting and commenting in, some of which are facilitated by us as e-marketers, and some of them which have been independently created by other online users, right? And this is largely as a result of the nature of the internet technology and the connectivity that it gives to customers. Now, the second shift that has taken place in the pre-connectivity era, right, as compared with the current connectivity era that we find ourselves in, is the fact that in the pre-connectivity era, right, loyalty was mentioned, but it was narrowly defined in terms of basic retention and repurchase. So in the pre-connectivity era, we were just thinking about a customer's loyalty being limited to them coming back to purchase from us time and again and consistently buying our brand of products and services. But in the connectivity era, loyalty has been extended beyond the mere act of retention and repurchase to include willingness to advocate for the brand and also recommend the brand, all of which have been facilitated by internet technology, given that it presents several avenues and tools and opportunities for a customer to willingly advocate for the brand, as well as recommend it to other online users. Again, using platforms like our website and online discussion forums and independent intermediaries like online review sites, as well as social media and networking pages on these platforms where they engage with other online users and customers to perform this advocacy and engage in word of mouth. So that is the second shift that has taken place, right? Now, the third and final shift we can talk about here is with the fact that with these changes in the traditional 4/8 model that was existing pre the connectivity era, right? When it comes to acting and advocating in the current connectivity era, it comes with an understanding of brands. Because in the pre-connectivity era, there were limited opportunities for customers to extensively ask about brands and advocate for brands. True or false?
True.
In the pre-connectivity era, without the internet, you could only ask a few people about the possible list of brands that can satisfy your need and whether or not they have had experiences, right? But in the current era of connectivity, the world is your oyster. You can sit in Ghana and talk to customers who have had prior experiences with specific brands of products and services from all over the world. And you can connect with these people at different times on various platforms. And it is on these same platforms that the advocacy also takes place, right? So depending on the bias that takes place during this conversation, right? Whether the negative advocacy wins over the positive advocacy or vice versa, it determines the appeal of the brand to this prospective customer who is asking for this information online. So if the connection is strong and the conversations that are had, the experiences that are shared go in favor of the brand, it strengthens the appeal of the brand to this customer and all other prospective customers that this particular customer will be engaging with, right? Whereas if there is some form of bias and it negatively affects the image and the reputation of the brand, by the end of this conversation that takes place or exchanges that happen, it will negatively affect the appeal of the brand to customers, right? And this will spill over to prospective customers and other online users who will also go ahead and ask for this information to aid them in making the decision of whether to act or not, right? Isaac, you said social norm bias. Can you clarify?
Yes, please. It's exactly as you were explaining.
Yeah.
Because people have that bias to conform to what is socially accepted. When they do any research on your brand, and they realize that most of the people within that community dislike your brand, then they are likely to also dislike your brand.
That's true.
Realize that most of the people within that your brand.
Good. Right. Good. Right? So thank you, Isaac, for that submission. Right? And with that, we come to the end of our session and our discussion on the e-customer. Right? Wasn't that a fun session?
Yes, Doc.
Good. Right?
Very practical. Very practical.
Yeah. Yeah. So notes, I think we can call it a day, right? In the event that you have any questions, please, you can ask them now, or if they come up later.
Minus my rude interruption.
Oh, Solace, you are forgiven, eh? Isaac has forgiven you. Solace, you are forgiven.
Isaac, thank you. Thank you, Doc.
You're welcome, Solace. Oh, thank you, Mida. I'm glad you do. Right? So let's keep the discussion going. If there's anything you need clarification on, just use our WhatsApp platform and then we will hash it out, right? So in the absence of any question, right, any contribution or comment, I'd like to wish you all a lovely evening, right? And I look forward to seeing you during our next meeting. Okay?
Doc, what do we have for the